We're back. I'm your host, BKP, and we're live here from the vault in downtown Blue Ridge. We have a fire going. We have hot coffee. We have our good friend, Dr. Whaley, with us right now. And before we move on to his segment, we want to let you know we just got an update from the command center. We will have people here at 8:45, 8:50 to give a report on North Georgia and how they're prepared here in Fannin County for the upcoming storm. So tell your friends, tune in to fyntv.com. Dr. Whaley, Happy New Year. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm great. How come we've got the fire? Just Lonnie came back and we got the fire?
That's what it is. Lonnie fired the place up.
He did, didn't he?
Is that what happened?
Yeah, we missed it.
Usually people ask me to leave because it gets too hot.
No, but I'm not too hot. I'm old, so I get cold. I'm wearing my sweater today.
First of all, I want to compliment you on that hat.
Yes, I will.
And you need to make sure you leave with it and nothing happens.
Yeah. My broken buffalo hat. My poor bald head is so cold that I left with a sweater. I left with a hat. And I think where we need to start is to go back to what I was saying in August. What did I say?
Did you get that over at the Broken Bowl?
Did I get that at the Broken Bowl? Where else do you get a hat in Blue Ridge besides the Broken Bowl?
I just like that. I don't want to get stuck on that, but I kind of like that hat. Keep an eye on it. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. But I want to go back. In August, I was telling people, you need to get a flu shot. It's going to be a big deal. When we weren't here last week, the biggest news item of last week was, and I'll read it because I had it written down here. We urge the children, the elderly, to get their flu shot before Christmas holiday. That was the CDC. This report from the CDC came out yesterday. Headline: flu season has started, could be severe. Now, we always talk about something going on in Washington State and stuff, so I'm going to pop back here. As of December 24th, flu activity was high in 4 states: Alabama, Arizona, Georgia.
Look at that.
Oklahoma.
Wow.
All right. Now, the dominant flu strain, this may change, but the dominant flu strain as of yesterday is flu strain A. You're always hearing about flu B. Well, this one here is called H3N2A. The important thing about this is historically this causes more severe disease, especially among older persons. How old are you?
Just keep on.
50 years old is the definition.
You see this, Lonnie?
50 years old is the definition of old.
50 is the definition.
So young is 18 and below, and that's all your adolescents and your school kids, and they're all in the school and hundreds of kids where they can get the flu, and then 50 and above. Now, it's important for everybody else. Now,
I hate it for those people 50 and above.
Right. Here it goes. All right. The good news is that all forms of this year's flu vaccine, there's 3 or 4 different strains, have A in it. The bad news is that flu vaccines don't tend to work well against this strain. So what the flu shot will do is diminish by at least a third your chances of getting really severely ill and ending up in the hospital. But it'll diminish by 2/3 the chances that you're going to have some really bad. You're going to get the flu, but you're not going to be as sick as you were.
This particular strain.
Now, I had said that 33,000 people. You remember this the last time? 33,000 people will die of the flu this year. Last year, 970,000 people were hospitalized with the flu. That's 1 million people. That means the fevers of 103 and 104 and feeling like you've been beaten by a board and sick and out of work for 2 weeks. So here is the conclusion of yesterday's CDC report. I'm going to read it. Run. Do not walk to get your flu shot. Do it on your lunch break today. So that's all I want to say about that.
So, I mean, there's times, Dr. Whaley, when some of us out here think it's too late to get the flu shot. It's not.
It's-
Run
no, no,
today.
No, run today.
And there's still places,
that's-
plenty of
yes,
places to get the flu shot.
Yes, you can get it at any of the local pharmacies that have the little thing that we give flu shots. I believe most doctors' offices are out of their supply, but the pharmacies still have it. And it's worth doing. And everybody with any kind of insurance walks out of there for free. And if they charge you top buck, it's $10 or $15. To be sick for 2 weeks with a temperature of 103, 104, end up in the hospital. I've had 2 patients already who've been hospitalized with the complications of the flu. So anyway, we've been talking about it since August. We don't have to talk about Zika anymore.
No, I mean that is a very important. That's very important information, folks. You've heard that there, and you heard from the CDC and the list of states, and you heard Georgia right on the list. So run today. That's what they said, Dr. Whaley.
Right. Do not walk.
Do not walk.
Okay, the states again were Alabama. That's right next door.
Yes.
Georgia. Now we don't care. Well, no, we don't care. But the other 2 are past Mississippi.
Arizona and Oklahoma.
Well, yeah, but then you come right back, and then it's North Carolina, Louisiana, Mississippi are right behind us, but they're not the top. So it's really the southeastern United States that's got the bad flu as of yesterday. So that's all I'm saying.
Well, you've got a lot of stuff there, so
I
go right ahead.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I'm always talking about diet and talking about people trying to get fit. I talk about how stupid some of these supplements are. You buy at the weightlifting place that costs you $30 for a box of powdered milk when we send it to Biafra for a couple bucks a ton. But I understand that you're going to have a fitness discussion today, and a lot of stuff on my list that's come out in the last couple of weeks is about the relationship between being fit and the prevention of disease.
Okay,
I talked about the vitamin D when we were here before. The vitamin D diminishes the 4 or 5 different types of cancer by a small amount. I mean, you don't have to go take a bunch of vitamin D, but you're talking about tiny amounts here. When you're talking about exercise, you're talking about huge amounts. A person who expends the equivalent of, and I've said this once before, an hour of walking or that type of exercise 5 days a week cuts by a huge number his hypertension, obesity, diabetes, premature death from heart disease, and stroke. All right? Now, CDC put out this past, not CDC, OMB put out this past week the economic burden of the top 5 diseases in the United States per year. Diabetes, 101 billion. Well, most diabetes is type 2 diabetes, that is weight, obesity, and lifestyle control, not juvenile diabetes where your pancreas just can't make insulin. So we control a big bit of that. The next was heart disease, 88 billion. Well, if 45% of the population is going to die of heart disease, and you can lower that by some 30% or so by being fit, keeping your blood pressure down, keeping your cholesterol down, then those 2, which are the big numbers, you're talking about Obamacare, so this is all leading into there. Guess what the 3rd biggest money disease that we pay for every year is? Now you got diabetes here, you got heart disease there. What would you think of next? Go ahead, pull it up.
Diabetes, heart disease.
And the 3rd one would be?
I don't know.
Low back pain.
Okay, all right.
Low back pain.
All right.
We spend more money on low back pain than we do on high blood pressure. Only $3 billion. It's $87 billion and $84 billion. But low back pain is also a fitness-related issue. Now, you know, I was this team physician to both professional hockey teams and both professional soccer teams. I've been treating athletes for 45 years. So I just want you to think of anybody who has a knee surgery or a knee replacement. When they are then rehabilitating that surgery, the strength of that joint and the stability of that joint depends upon the strength of the muscles that operate the joint. So the knee surgery rehab is to do this exercise, build up this thigh muscle. Well, what muscle operates the back? The abdominal muscles operate the back. Those big old filet mignon muscles that run by your spine operate the back. And so any of these fitness strength programs where you're doing planks or you're doing your body weight, and your Advocare people will talk about that, I'm sure, will strengthen your core, which strengthens your back, which increases your ability to do your work at your job without slipping your disc, or go out and shovel snow this afternoon or tomorrow if you have to without having chronic low back pain. So, the fourth disease that is the biggest money user is high blood pressure. Well, everybody knows that if you have a garden hose of an inch diameter and you're putting 10 gallons of water through it a minute, and you cut the diameter of that garden hose to a half an inch, it takes 4 times as much pressure to push the water through the garden hose. You gonna buy that one?
Yes.
Okay, that's physics, right?
I'm listening. I'm focused in here.
Okay,
I mean,
now,
I am.
All right, now, when you exercise and when you are fit, your arteries are dilated to feed the muscles that are exercising and to feed the increased muscle bulk that you have created by exercising. Now, I'm not talking about Schwarzenegger. I'm talking about just general levels of fitness. Well, when you have raised the diameter of that artery, you've lowered the resistance, therefore you've dropped the pressure, and the high blood pressure falls in there. So all of the four first highest economic drains on the public dole are diabetes, heart disease, low back pain, and high blood pressure, and every one of them can be benefited by the programs of weight control, nutrition, and exercise.
Let me thank you
And I'm
so
not
much.
getting,
That was great.
this is
That
not
was
a
great.
paid endorsement.
No,
I
that-
do not have a free membership.
No, this is great. No,
I've
this
just
is
been
great
lectured on this-
information.
Been lectured on this for 45 years.
I know you have a focus. Because of the storm coming in, I just want to ask a brief question, storm related, that goes with health. Every year, in some of the Northeast and Midwest where they have serious snows, but we're getting ready, possibly 4 or 5 inches, 3 inches of snow, which is a lot around here. But we always hear of people, elderly people, shoveling snow, or maybe not even elderly. How concerned should you be on out shoveling snow and just not being aware that that's stressful or strained?
Generally, the shoveling snow death is an unaccustomed exercise event for a person who has occult coronary heart disease. So if you're not in shape and you don't chop firewood in the summertime and you don't garden and you don't do activities of that type, call the kid next door to shovel your snow. Because if you're not fit, then this is an unaccustomed exertion that when you are doing that raises your blood pressure and constricts your coronaries. And so if you're 50, 60 years old, you're a smoker, you're overweight, you've got high blood pressure, you've got diabetes, and you can't get your car out, either call Bill Jones to come pull you out with his wrecker, or call the kid next door to go shovel the snow for you.
Well, I just wanted to get that in because
Another one. I want to. I'm not on a social work bent this morning, but I used to write a guide for the Atlanta TV programs every year called Cold Weather Hints. What you really have, you got several issues here. One, if your house isn't properly insulated, or you've got elderly, or you've got economically deprived or disadvantaged people, we try now to get to where they don't cut anybody's gas off, you aren't without your power, because you can't pay the bill. But when it gets really cold, there are a number of carbon monoxide deaths because people light their charcoal boiler and bring it in the house, or they make some other accommodation for creating heat that isn't industrially safe. And so I would say if you got elderly parents or whatever, you're worried about them, the house isn't well insulated, bring them over to the house, bring them over to your place for the weekend. But don't let the elderly or particularly the retarded, the disadvantaged, build a charcoal fire in their charcoal boil and then roll it in the house to try and keep warm or do anything like that. Because carbon monoxide kills people every time there's a storm. And then the third thing that kills them is they get exposure and they'll go to bed at night and the temperature will gradually fall. They become hypothermic because their house not insulated, it's not heated well. And we have to worry in really big things like that about our elderly and our infirm. I can remember in the snowstorm we had here in the 80s, they took a helicopter out to Jones Mill or wherever out there in the Cohutta where my patient Mary Jones lived. Well, her husband was the head of the Cohutta thing, and he was like Bound Mountain Dean out there. But they actually had to bring her out by helicopter because of the medical issues. So this is a time we need to be worried about our neighbors and we worried about the people that are next. Because it may not be your family member, may not be a close friend, but if there's somebody around you that you think is vulnerable, wander over there and make sure they're okay. This is a time for us to be neighbors to one another.
I couldn't
It's
agree.
like a hurricane. Yeah, think like a hurricane. There are going to be other people that might be bad shape. I mean, last time we had one of these, the sheriff had to get somebody to pull me out of the ice because I made a stupid mistake and put my car down at the bottom of the driveway, and I had to be someplace and I couldn't get out. I mean, it happened to me, and I'm young and healthy.
Well, I don't know, you keep giving these reports of 50 and older. I don't know why you tailor these reports for 50 and
Do I
older.
sound like a social worker?
No, I'm just,
Okay.
I'm only 42.
Yeah,
Oh, my mic's on.
Yeah, no, I feel like a social worker. I feel like a social worker talking about trying to prevent healthy disease. One of the things I was going to talk about, but I don't know.
Oh,
if we have time.
you go ahead,
Well,
go right ahead.
Well, you know Jane, how Jane is. There was a big scientific article published that didn't get as much press as it should have. It came out on the last day of the year, or the 28th or the 30th, of a study that was done in a Scandinavian country. That's the first real scientific study I've ever seen on the near-death experience and the out-of-body experience. Now, when you get to talking about spirituality and you get to talking about religion, and people talk about the near-death experience and they saw their family members and they saw the guy in the white robe and all that sort of stuff, there's a tremendous number of skeptics who say that's all BS. I want to tell a personal story about a patient that I treated, and then we'll get off the subject. But because when this came out, Jane and I were having a big discussion about it. I said, Jane, don't you remember 20 years ago, my father's law partner had a heart attack when he was on the property of my hospital. And he was admitted to the intensive care unit. He was an overweight man of over 65 years of age, and he was morbidly ill, and he had a cardiac arrest in the intensive care unit. Well, luckily enough, the director of intensive care, who happened to be a colleague of mine, Dr. Settle, was in the intensive care unit and personally resuscitated him, and it was a difficult resuscitation. He had to crawl up on the bed and do closed chest massage and insert a IV under the collarbone and shock him 2 or 3 times. And then he recovered. He left the hospital. He went home. He lost a bunch of weight. He got to be in pretty good shape. And 6 months later, he was in my office in the examining room with the door open and his clothes on when I was walking down the hall, and Dr. Settle was coming down the hall to ask me a question. And he stopped right in front of the room where my dad's law partner was. And so I just turned to the law partner and I said, you may not know Dr. Settle, but he's the guy that resuscitated you in the intensive care unit. And the patient looked at him and says, yes, I know you. You were the one that called me a land whale. A land whale. He's overweight and he was complaining about trying to stop the thing. He said, you've got a big bald spot in the back of your head. Well, this guy was tall. I've known him for
Now he's
20
in
years.
cardiac arrest.
He was in cardiac
Right.
arrest at 6 months before.
Yeah.
He was dead. He says, you've got a big bald spot in the back of your head. Well, I've known the guy for 10, 15 years. he had a whole full head of hair when I knew him, and you couldn't see a bald spot. I know from looking at pictures, I got a little on top of my head. Well, I didn't know that. I said, Jim, lean over. And he bent over, and he got a bald spot on his head. I said, man, I said, how do you know that? He said, I watched that whole event. I said, yeah. He said, he worked on me for 10 or 15 minutes, and when he was having trouble starting that IV, he said something about a land whale. He said, it doesn't hurt my feelings. That's why I went home and lost so much weight. But he's got a bald spot on top of his head. So here's a lawyer that I know that's not any kind of a kook, with an observation that I couldn't even make about my colleagues. So I know that out-of-body experience in the situation of cardiac arrest or gunshot wound or automobile accident or whatever is real.
Wow.
So Jane wanted to then get into the near-death experience of the netting thing, and you see your relatives and you're talking to Jesus or something. And that trial that was done in Scandinavia studied people of different cultures. I will say like headhunters and Hindus and Muslims and everything else. Well, interestingly enough, all of those other cultures also have near-death experiences. And those near-death experiences are in their own culture, so that they will see or do things that are related to the culture that they have. They don't see our guy with the white robe or the lady knitting the long scarf through that. Go ahead.
Dr. Whaley, I want to say thank you for being back here. Happy New Year. We're going to probably need to end it there. If you have a final thought.
The important
well, we've got our update on. Our gentleman just showed up give us an update from the command center on the upcoming storm in North Georgia.
You missed the part where I was saying that this is the time to be a good neighbor. And if you've got people around you that are old, and even if they're not your family, go check on them, make sure their heat's working, and don't let anybody light a charcoal fire in their charcoal thing and drag it in the house, because we don't want any carbon monoxide poisoning, and we don't want any old people getting cold. So I already told them that part.
Dr. Whaley, thank you very much.
Great.
I appreciate it. Stay warm. We're staying warm by the fireplace. This is nice atmosphere.
Yeah, I know. Lonnie got the fire for us.
Lonnie got us the fire going. We're at the Vault and Blue Ridge. Come on down. A full breakfast menu, hot coffee, and we're next to the fire. And again, thank you, Georgia Cancer Specialist.
And my hat from
Broken Bull. Yeah, you get that hat. Don't forget that, because I know where it might end up. I'm your host, BKP. When we come back, right after these commercials, tell your friends, tune in, fyntv.com, because we're going to have an update straight from the command center of what to look forward to in this storm. I'm your host, Lonnie, taking a break.
Looking for in a vehicle, start your search at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper. We've simplified the process so you can move on to what matters, your family.
Circuit World, brand name merchandise at unbelievably low prices. Furniture, appliances, and electronics. Circuit World is locally owned and operated, serving the tri-state area. Circuit World has highly trained professionals to help. Visit your hometown Circuit World today. 3 locations in Georgia: Ellijay, Blue Ridge, and Blairsville, Franklin, and Murphy, North Carolina. No credit checks, so let Circuit World deliver to you today.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in Ellijay, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.